All right, so we're here on another Wednesday, and we're talking about calendars. And we're also getting this phone set up so it doesn't fall over. Now, what it looks like I'm going to start doing from here is going live on Instagram only on Wednesdays for these, and going live on YouTube every day. Okay, so if you haven't, go to YouTube and check out the recordings there, and you'll be able to see my screen. Now, since the screen is visible, I should use that a little more strategically, right? So I should be getting better with, making things a little bit more structured. But right now we're just having fun, okay, transitioning from Instagram into YouTube. So let's go back into the itinerary library and just talk a little bit about that. Over the bookshelves a couple of times if you go into the itinerary library. Yesterday I mentioned that I'm working on a new website. So if you'd like for everything to really just make a lot more sense, I'm working on putting that together, and that should be out soon. I'm not giving the new website domain name. It's different. It's not just pagesdale. It's got a little something extra thrown in there. And once that's ready, I will share, I assure you. Okay, so let's talk about study rooms today. We talked about cultural competency, and yesterday we talked about listening, and today we're talking about speaking. Now, I've gone over those first two. Those first two being cultural competency and listening. But after listening, we have the speaking, like I just mentioned. Let's do writing. What are you speaking tomorrow? Okay. So when we're going through any of these classes, there are going to be 5 different parts. Okay. And each of them starts with a D. Okay. So it should be pretty easy to remember them if you think about it that way. Okay. Things being a little weird today. Who knows why? So the first thing that you're going to do is to determine, okay, you're going to determine your focus. After you determine your focus, you're going to want to actually go through and define it a little bit more. So these are the example cycles that I've set up. So you're starting off with just 5% of your time. Again, your time can be whatever your time is. Maybe you're traveling for a couple of months and you want to use all of that time. So you're going to divvy up all of your time into the different chunks. The first 5%, the first 10%. Maybe you're traveling for a couple of months, but you just want to dedicate 1 week to this. Or maybe you're traveling for a couple of months, but you want to dedicate, I don't know, a day a week. So you decide how you want to total up your time, and then you divvy up the percentage of that. Okay, very, very flexible, right? So when you're getting into defining successful composition, right? Because we're talking about writing now, we're not talking about speaking. So if you're writing, you are composing. Now, composing doesn't have to be a long essay. You can be composing a text message. You can be composing just a comment, right? You can be composing captions for something. Maybe you're a photographer, and as you travel, you want to work on your writing, you know? It's really important how you describe your photos and things like that. So maybe that's what you decide to focus on when you're traveling in the Sahara. I don't know. Okay. And this is going to help you add just a little bit of structure to that, just a little bit. You wake up in the morning, you have your book that you're reading, and along with that, you pop into the study room to kind of help you get a little bit of guidance to work on this particular skill, right? And as we get more people into the library, maybe you can check in with other people who are also working on their writing skills, right? That's it. Sounds cool to me. All right. So that's defining. And it works the same way with every study room, in every cycle, in every pagesdale cycle, right? Now, after you get to define, that's when you're going to go through to the demonstrate. Okay. So if you're demonstrating your writing proficiency, you're going to take 20% of your time and you're just going to be you. Just do you how you already do you. No worries. And then you're just going to assess your captions or your comments or your texts as they are so far. Okay. And then you'll just reflect on how those are, you know, for 25%. You'll go through and you'll really think, okay, this is a good caption for this reason. This is a bad caption for that reason. That's a good text for this reason. You know, it was so for that reason and things like that. And then you'll think of, okay, well, what would have been the perfect caption or the perfect way of handling whatever that instance of writing was. Okay. And that's your dreaming. You're dreaming, right? And it's fun. You know, you're not weighing yourself down with criticism. You're more so taking a positive perspective and just dreaming about the ideal. All right. And from there, you'll be developing with play. And this is not a matter of age. Play is for every age, right? Every age, every stage. Play is really important. And but it just needs to be appropriate. And hopefully, going through the other 4 stages will set you up to play very intentionally. Okay. All right. And so pretty much you come in here just for a little bit of guidance to remind you how to maintain the structure. And every one of the study rooms has a guide that you can take notes in. Yeah. Okay. And it'll tell you the percent for each step and give you a space to write and kind of break down what is talked about in the study room. Okay. There you go. And now we can scroll up. Each study room also has a little intro and a shout out to the illustrator of these images. They're amazing. I found these on Shutterstock. Amazing. These are beautiful. So writing. And writing happens in all types of ways, right? So in these images, you have a little girl who's like drawing on the window. We have someone who's on their phone writing, someone on the computer writing. Okay. So you can think of writing pretty flexibly, right? Or with flexibility. Okay. Are you writing with your hands, with your phone, with your laptop? Do you want to be that specific? Are you working on your handwriting? You know, so your mode of working with writing is also really important with your goals. Okay. Maybe you're more used to typing and you decide that you want to get typing on your computer. You decide that you want to get more comfortable on your phone. And that's it. It's as simple as that. Okay. You determine, define, demonstrate, dream, and develop. It could be a group effort as well, right? Maybe you're traveling as a couple and you and your partner decide, okay, we need to work on this. This is what we're doing. And that's what you do. Or maybe it's a whole family thing, or maybe it's a colleague thing, or, you know, Maybe it's just a pal thing. Maybe you're pen pals. And you're like traveling different places, but the connect that you have is that you're both working on the same writing skill. Okay. I mentioned earlier on that this is something that I think that I personally could use, like um, very much so, to help me interact with people. So hey, no harm, no foul. Okay. If in the past you haven't interacted with people at all, but you're like, man, this could help me. There you go. Okay. All right, here we go. Writing proficiency guide. And that's it. So maybe we'll go back to the speaking study room tomorrow if we have time. Okay. So let's get back to archive.org and check out our books. Now, not all of the books are coming from archive.org this week because I really wanted to make sure that I was including calendars from particular cultures and they just weren't available on archive. So, like I've done before, I have as many from archive as I can, and then the others are just coming from Amazon. Links to Amazon, so you know what they are. But I do have one of the books on my Kindle, so hopefully it still makes it accessible if you're willing to, support and buy the book on your Kindle. It's right there for you. Now, the book that's on Kindle this week is about the Ethiopian calendar. And it's set up more like a children's book, but it is quite informative. And I'm in the process of, or I was in the process of looking for a Chinese Lunar New Year book, but it doesn't have to be specifically the Chinese New Year. It could just be Asian New Year's, but I'm also not sure of the differences, similarities between different Asian countries. So let's start with that question and or query. Chinese or different Asian calendars. We have this is an AI overview. Okay. They're different, or there are several different calendars used in Asia, including the Chinese calendar, a lunisolar calendar that uses astronomical observations of the sun and moon to mark seasons and holidays. It's also known as the agricultural calendar, or Nongli. I thought it was just a lunar calendar. Okay. So we have the Tibetan lunisolar, Buddhist lunisolar, Hindi lunisolar, Islamic lunar, and Jewish lunar. And these are all listed as Asian. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, East Asian. What are the three types of calendars? Solar and lunisolar. Royal Museums Greenwich. This is coming up on its own. Another maritime museum. I'm getting a little distracted, but yeah. I like this. Okay, let's see if I can save this. Let me see if my website. I don't think my website's up. Now, I bought a domain name with GoDaddy, and then I signed up with Weebly or Square Up. And then Square Up was like, oh, yeah, just put in your domain name. And then I had to do it manually, and hopefully I did it correctly. I think I've been through this before. I went through this before with my other one a while ago. And by the way, okay, so I started my first website with Weebly, I think, a long time. I loved Weebly. I liked Weebly a lot. So that's why I was looking for Weebly, and then turns out Weebly was bought by Square. Not Squarespace, but Square, which is now Square Up, apparently. And I like the way that you have set up your very user-friendly platform. Thank you, Weebly-ish, Square Up. It's really easy to choose the templates and edit and everything. It's great. It is easier than I remember it being, but somehow oddly familiar. So along those lines, I'm pretty sure I had to call after I stopped using Weebly back in said day to try to get a little bit more convenience for setting up payments and stuff like that. So I wanted to try WordPress. But in order to get WordPress, you have to go through Bluehost or something. I used Bluehost, and that was a doozy. Okay, so if anybody out there is with Bluehost, you can give me a call. I would maybe try it again. I might, right? But that was rough. That was rough. I'm currently in a position where I would very, very highly recommend Square Up because it's Weebly. And I would say Bluehost is for those who are truly maybe computer programmers who would be able to go in and do more of that, not just surface level type stuff. I mean, did I ever publish the website under Bluehost? I don't think I ever got around to publishing my website again under Bluehost. And then I ended up losing the domain name, which is a whole other thing. I'll probably still try to get pagesdale back, pagesdale.com, but being that the focus is what it is right now, I thought it would also be useful to get a more specific name with pagesdale in it. So back to calendars. This is a good one. This is just about calendars around the world, and this little PDF is written by Alan Longstaff of the National Maritime Museum. Cool. So the contents, there's an introduction, the astronomical basis of calendars, day, month, years, types of calendar, solar, lunar, lunisolar, and sidereal. Calendars in history, Egypt, megalith culture, Mesopotamia, ancient China, Republican Rome, Julian calendar, medieval Christian calendar, Gregorian calendar. I went over this a little bit the other day. We in the United States use Gregorian. Before that was more of a Roman type of a calendar. Calendars today are the Gregorian, Hebrew, Islamic, Indian, and Chinese. There's no representation of a single African calendar. Ethiopia has a very unique calendar, a very old, unique calendar. So that's why I wanted to make sure that I had one that represented an African calendar, right? Ethiopia is there. Ethiopia is awesome. And so in the appendices, and yeah, why am I talking about this? I'm talking about this PDF because it seemed like it was going to give just a general overview of calendars, which I've talked about earlier this week, but didn't really talk about today. So yeah, it's a little bit of vocabulary getting started. And now let's dive a little bit deeper. Now, why did I choose calendars for January? Because it's the start of our year. Okay, it's the start of that. But also, Yes, I would like to share more of what's coming up for pagesdale when I do these workshops. So I'm going to put together a calendar, okay, and so people will know what to expect throughout the rest of the year. Okay, what exactly are the topics I'll be covering? Roughly, right? I might not have the books, but roughly I'll let you know which of the monthly topics I'll be touching on, just, to give a little bit of a heads up and, um, yeah, to kind of help everyone understand that there's a method and not just madness. Okay, there's a method to the madness, and hopefully that'll help the madness wane a little bit. But I imagine it will remain. So there you go. Or at least I don't think it's madness. I don't, but I could understand why people would think that it's madness and it feels like madness, but um, it's not. Okay, so I made a list. I've been doing a list this time around. And what I really like about doing this is just the random stuff that you find along the way. Um, little secret is that's my favorite part about it is just the random stuff that you find while you're intentionally searching. Okay, that's the really fun stuff. So I found some great books that I think will be useful just for pagesdale in general. And I think every now and then on the pagesdale calendar of topics, I'll just do like a random finds, itinerary. Like this week, we're going to go the wild card, or I don't know, wild card week, who knows? Okay. Because there are books I'd really like to come back to, but I can't think of a time where I would need to. Doesn't really seem to fit a particular theme. So that's a note to take down. And just so you know, I very rarely take a look at these notes, right? Going back and looking at my notes. I do. But I don't know if I talked about this book. Oh, yeah, it's over there. I don't know if I talked about this book. Um, I haven't finished reading it, getting things done. But I wonder if there's anything in here about notebooks. David Allen. What would you say about how to properly organize a notebook with notes? All right, so let's see. The books that I have that are definitely going into an itinerary. Okay, Maya calendar, 7 secrets from Hindu calendar art, Tibaldo and the hole in the calendar, and actually, hold on. I know it's 13 Months of Sunshine is the name of the book that's coming. That goes over the Ethiopian calendar, the My Calendar book, the official M&M's brand history of the calendar, which is so weird to me. I really want to keep it. I really want to keep it, but I think I need a spot for the Chinese on the calendar. Do I though? Do I? Yeah, because Chinese New Year is coming up. I feel like it's an obligation. The thing is, though, I couldn't find a good book, even when I looked on Amazon and just Google. So there's now thrift books. I like thrift books. Let's just go to thrift books because sometimes thrift books will pop up automatically, sometimes it doesn't. And I really like taking screenshots of thrift books cover pictures on my phone. It's amazing. Ooh, the very hungry caterpillar. Not what I'm looking for. Chinese Sunni lunar calendar. Chinese calendar. Just come on. Come on. Calendar of the gods in China. Interpreter of Maldives. Streams in the desert. The power of. Okay, now we're just things that are totally off topic. A notice of the Chinese calendar and a concordance with the European calendar. There's no. Oh, here's the description. This is a reproduction of a book published before 1923. This book may have occasional imperfections such as missing or blurred pages, poor pictures, errant marks, etc., that were either part of the original artifact or were introduced by the scanning process. We believe this work is culturally important and, despite the imperfections, have elected to bring it back into print as part of our continuing commitment to the preservation of printed works worldwide. We appreciate your understanding of the imperfections in the preservation process and hope you enjoyed this valuable book. That's the book overview. Is that a thrift books note or is that a publisher's note? I don't know. I'm just wondering because I didn't think thrift books was coming from that angle, but I wouldn't be super surprised. See, this is what thrift book does. Thrift books does that. Let's just come here. Amazon does not. It's different. I like this. I like this. Anyway, nobody cares. Yeah. I'm still not finding a good book. So, calendar. This book is just titled Calendar. No description. No reviews. It is in Chinese. Wouldn't it be funny if I simply type in calendar and then I end up finding this book in archive? It's by Peng Shu Huai. This book comes up. Is that the publisher and not the author? Because there are many books that came up. Hold on. This is me. No. The daydreaming is just. How do you not grow out of that? Okay, what? All right, here we go. We're just going to stick with the Eminem book. That's what it seems like. Seems like all of the Chinese Sunni lunar calendar books are in Chinese. And one of these days, because I honestly, there was a time I was really into studying Chinese. I have to get back into it. It's been a few times where I've gotten into Chinese, and it gets better every time. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the next round of Chinese. I am. I wonder if this has this Chinese characters book that I lost a long time ago. This is called WTF Chinese characters. That is hilarious. I'm not seeing the same book cover, but I bet it's in here somewhere. I need to find the picture that I have a picture of the book. I can find the real title and the. And it was Mandarin, not Cantonese. Okay, I was studying Mandarin, I think. This isn't the book I was looking for. But I used this book when I was taking my class. And in the off chance that my Chinese teacher is out there, thank you. That was probably one of the. I mean, every Chinese class that I've taken has been very stressful. I mean, very stressful. Um, I had one Chinese instructor, and she was fantastic. She was very much on speaking, and so we would go through, and she would ask us a question, and we'd always have to answer it. And she'd be like, "No, no, no, yes." And I remember most of the time I had to repeat it again and again, and I couldn't look at my book. She would just repeat the correct way to say it. It was like there was this whole sentence. And she wouldn't let me look at my book. I just had to listen to her and repeat it. And she gave up on me. Because her thing was, we don't move on until you get it. We don't move on until you get it. And on this particular day, I mean, I had studied and I genuinely, I really did study. Okay. But she was just asking me. I didn't know the answer to the question. I might have cried. I might have teared up. It was rough. But around that time, I improved a lot in my Chinese. And I don't think it was because of the like being afraid of her. Like she was really nice. Like she was really kind. It was just that I felt really embarrassed because it was taking up a lot of time. And but because we had so much practice. And now the other Chinese class that I had, and I had a Chinese tutor at one point too. I met with this lady, and she would go through all the sounds with me. And that's totally different. The other class that I had, I walked out because a girl in the class was chewing ice. She was chewing ice. And the thing, I don't talk about this very much because you might say, oh, this girl who's chewing ice is not who you would expect to be chewing ice in the classroom. Like it was I didn't know how to even begin to, like all of us were like, are you seriously chewing ice? And I couldn't, I think I was like, really upset. And I ended up just leaving. I didn't go back to the class at all. Um, None of us knew how to just be like, hey, don't do that. But that was around the time I had made a good amount of progress in Chinese, and the numbers in Chinese are really difficult. And is all this related? Yes, because talking about calendars and talking about different months and days and numbers and things like that, knowing your numbers in Chinese is very intense. And calendars are an amazing tool for teaching the beginning levels of any language, in my opinion. Calendars are amazing. And I don't see people using calendars very much when they're teaching like basic, fundamental vocabulary and grammar and things like that. It provides an amazing structure, a lot of flexibility, and it's very easy to make relatable and to build on. It's great. And then if students miss a couple of days, you're not completely lost. You still have the calendar to fall back on. So um, as I go through this year, I'll be talking more about the instructional practices. Okay, just because um, instructional design, language and culture consultancy, instructional design are the main areas of focus that I have here. And travel just brings it together and allows me to kind of touch on these topics without spewing everything that I have to offer, the services that I provide, if that makes sense. Um, right. So calendars. Okay. It's a great way to provide structure. If you're just starting out with teaching any language, check out the calendar, even on the first day. Right. Fill in your birthday on the calendar, and yes, of the whole year, right? And it's a great beginning assessment tool, and it's a great way to kind of help people, but you won't have to help them forever, right? And yeah, yeah, great. Now, with that in mind, we're going to do our typical travel study rate. And I could keep going on this for a while, and I will. Okay, right now. And if you're thinking, well, how can we use this for grammar? You can use it for open questions, right? Yes or no questions. And then you could even go through, as you're teaching, you could go through like a year, right? Every couple of weeks and a couple of days, right? You go through a year. You're like, okay, January, February, March, April, and then you kind of go through holidays and you just kind of at the beginning of class. And now I give a lot of possibilities that I haven't used before because, first of all, when you're teaching, a lot of times you're given a curriculum. Okay. If you're in a position where you don't already have a curriculum, okay, there's just the possibilities are really endless. But if you're someone who really is just getting started and has no curriculum, the calendar is your friend. Okay, just know that. The calendar is your friend. And just keep in mind that there are no limits. And when you know that there are no limits, you're willing to let yourself get more creative. You can do yes or no questions. You can do open ended questions. You can have people work in groups, right? You can create calendars, right? You can say, okay, we're all January, all right? Pretend like you're this person, you're that person, you give them a different calendar. Okay, so and so, what are you doing on this day? You practice numbers, you practice days. You can even just do letters, right? Okay. You can do pictures on the calendar. Okay, I'll stop. You can do it digitally or physically. You can just get a bunch of calendars from the corner store, right? And then you put sticky notes on there, right? You can do a lot. Okay. If you're low on resources. So our travel study, right? Okay. Where are we going? We're going to the places listed in the books, right? Um, I mean the place where the calendar is used. Okay, that's where we're going for studying. And then for right, right? Are we volunteering? How could we be helping? I think I'm going to say spend your time doing something. Okay, spend your time blankety blank. Spend your time blank. Okay, we're clearly going to these different places. Are we going to try to look for a museum? I guess I could do, hey, welcome in. So I'm going over calendars right now and deciding how I'm going to help everything feel connected. I think I'm going to have the travel be based on the study, okay? Because it will be easier to come up with the study than the travel this time, okay? I have actually one fiction. One of these books is based on true events in real history, but they're fictional characters, which is really cool. But calendar's in the title, and the title of the book is Tibaldo and the Hole in the Calendar. And the funny thing is, I thought, man, who's Tibaldo? I've never heard of that guy. Yeah, and that's why. It's based on a real time in history, but not a real person. So for that one, okay, for the study, right? The study could be more related to skills needed for reading fiction than nonfiction. But the book is still about astronomy. I kind of want to encourage people to write their own fiction, right? Write their own fiction inspired by reality, right? Write their own fiction. So there we have, that's for study for that book, right? So this, it's called Tibaldo and the Hole in the Calendar. Um, hmm, okay. So this one, Tibaldo and the Hole in the Calendar. So I started reading this book yesterday and it's really cool. Highly recommended. I'm going to jump ahead to the chapter that's all about the hole in the calendar. Page 51. It's not nearly far enough. So now, of course, I've skipped ahead, so we don't know what's going on. But the great problem in the commission faced was to design a calendar accurate enough for all practical purposes, but not too complicated that only a mathematician could use it. The calendar of Julius Caesar, with its rule for adding an extra day to February every fourth year, is wonderfully simple but inaccurate, as we have seen. Some astronomers recommended rules that were so accurate that the accumulated error in a million years would be no more than one day. But no village priest trying to figure out when Easter would fall each year would be able to perform the calculations required by those rules. A critic of those complicated rules remarked, Easter is a festival, not a planet. The commission decided on the following rules. Years not divisible by 4 should have 365 days. If a year is divisible by 4 but not by 100, it is to be a leap year 366 days long, with the extra day added to February. If a year is divisible by 100 but not by 400, it would have only 365 days. Okay. So this book it's a mix of fiction and nonfiction. So it's a nonfiction piece. Now we're getting into this conversation. So the governor asked his usual question. Any looting? The captain answered, "No, Your Excellency." Any fires in the streets? "No, Your Excellency." Any suspicious characters? Only the usual ones, Your Excellency. What did people do? They stopped working, Your Excellency. Many prayed. Well, that won't do too much harm. The two experienced men agreed that it had been a mild crisis, not comparable to the total eclipse of 1572. I'm trying so hard to stay away from these themes that just keep popping up. Okay, it's fine. All right, so we're going to Italy for this one because the setting is Bologna. Okay, just making sure. We're going to Italy. Yay! I don't think Italy has come up on an itinerary before. Ooh, we're going to Italy. Okay. Now, what are we going to do there exactly? Oh, we have to go to an observatory there. The Medicina Radio Observatory is an astronomical observatory located 30 kilometers from Bologna, Italy. It is operated by the Institute for Radio Astronomy of the National Institute for Astrophysics, INAF, of the Government of Italy. The site includes 32-meter diameter parabolic antennae for observing between 1.4 and 23 gigahertz. Yeah, I don't know. Is there another one? Museo d'Art. Temporarily closed. Okay. Really? Until further notice. Temporarily closed until further notice. Until further notice. Spectacular tower was built for this very purpose. We have always looked at the sky, seeking to find out its secrets, wondering about the planets and stars. Okay, well, Italy should have a good number of places to go. This is what we just read about. It does look awesome, but it doesn't look like it's really a place to visit now, does it? It doesn't seem like a place that you can really go to. Okay. Feeling feelings right now. All right, this is the Center is Astronomical Observatory years participated following. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not sure this is a place that can be visited. I'm not sure if it's open to the public. The museum is temporarily closed. I mean, an observatory, projects, job opportunities. Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's a place for people to just kind of pop in and say what's up. I could be wrong. How to reach us, lab and facilities, latest news. Yeah. Public observatories, that's what I should say. Is it? Okay, I have to make sure it's a destination. Yes. Oh, they're events. Okay. Okay. Is this in person or is it online? All right, I'm putting it on the itinerary. Okay, so the National Institute of Astrophysics, INAF. We could. It is a astrophysics talk. Now, astrophysics and calendars. I know I'm a little bit over time for today. I mean, astrophysics and calendars, and astrophysics and calendars. Yeah, I don't think there's like a super tight connection. I mean, you can use calendars to help with astrophysics. I mean, they are related. But that's calendar astrophysics science division. I mean, are we talking about, yeah, the sun or the moon? But anyway, I know it's like, how are they not related? Of course they're related, like totally. But I think that's why calendars are also different because they're not as tightly connected to. I mean, that's like the whole argument, why there's an argument. Because even though they're influenced by and based on the sun and the moon, there's still a good number of different ways to do it. And that's the whole point. We just got to end it for today. All right. So that's what we'll study, right? So we'll study astrophysics. I mean, I don't know, because it seems like they have a bunch of astrophysics talks at this place. And I'd said that the study was going to influence the travel, but the travel is here first. I know I'm going over the time quite a bit today. They have astrophysics talks, astrophysical colloquium. Yeah, it's all, yeah, because it's the National Institute of Astrophysics, right? So yeah, it's hard to find something astrophysics more astrophysics related because I think I already put on an itinerary making like a sundial thing for some reason. And then, oh yeah, try to make an improvement to a calendar is what the writing is with the right. Suggest an improvement to a widely used calendar. Um, Based on, I don't know, astrophysics. I don't know. Based on one of the latest astrophysics papers. Based on one of the latest astrophysics papers. Inspired by one of the latest astrophysics papers. Inspired by your chosen astrophysics paper. Astrophysics paper. Just read in astrophysics. Because there's a list of the 50 most recent ones. Okay, I'll read this and then we'll go. So recent and still ongoing advances in digital director technology have raised again the interest of astronomers and other sky watchers for wide field capabilities and ground-based telescopes. A change of paradigm has to be reported in this sense in the observational approach during the last decades, where wide field performances were originally the rule for now small telescopes up to the 1970s, favored by the use of big, though relatively blind, photographic plates as detectors. With the advent of more sensitive CCDs, the field of view FOV for those same telescopes shrunk dramatically, as only a small fraction of the corrected image at the focus could be intercepted by the then small electronic chips. As a consequence, in the following decades, deep sky observations remained forcibly prevalent in wide field astronomy. I don't know. Only in more recent years, this process has been reversing as digital imaging now takes advantage of much bigger solid state detectors with an increasing role of CMOS technology accompanying and often replacing the CCD imagers. In addition, digital techniques massively affected the way optical parts are manufactured and assembled, thus making wide field telescopes of the new generation faster and optically more elaborate. Surveys of celestial objects and transient events across wide portions of the sky span a range of cases, not only of strict astronomical interest, but also including all those activities more generally related to space situational awareness and the different space contexts. A thoughtful screening of the solar system and search for incoming interstellar intruders or new asteroids and comets may therefore flank the comprehensive census of stars within our own galaxy, or the study of galaxy clusters at cosmological distances. A quick reaction and a wide field under survey are also mandatory for those extemporary events, possibly related to gravitational waves and gamma ray bursts somewhere in the universe. Besides astronomical topics, space surveillance and tracking may also be of special appeal in this regard for a large audience among military, commercial, and scientific communities, as the surging population of anthropic objects, satellites, and space debris in the space environment surrounding Earth now needs to be actively assessed for its potentially pervasive impact on the human activities. I don't know why I said assessed like that. Uh, Not least the disruptive consequences on ground on ground based and low orbit astronomical observations. Though so different, both the deep space and circumterrestrial explorations rely, in fact, on the same strategy. Enhanced collecting area and a wide FOV are the two ultimate requirements for our telescopes to push target detection and positional tag at the faintest magnitude levels. However, when high angular resolution is not a leading issue against wide field capabilities, we have shown that a suitable assembly of small telescopes to synthesize the full collecting area of a larger monolithic instrument may provide a basically equivalent and cost-effective solution. As an effort to effectively implement this scheme in the framework of best value for money technical solutions, in this paper we want to give an account of the telescope array enabling debris monitoring project, TANDEM project, which led to a telescope array for SST and astronomical use recently set in operation at the INAFOAS observing premises in Bologna, Italy. In the following section, Section 2 sets the context and the motivation background that led to the conception of Tandem. The story of this exciting endeavor is then briefly outlined in Section 3, detailing the technical and optical properties of the telescope combination. In Sections 3.1 and 3.2, quite special pointing capabilities are available for the tandem telescopes, giving the instrument a range of observing modes, as outlined in Section 3.3. The optical characterization is discussed in Section 3.4, while all the relevant features of the project, including a final discussion, are given in Section 4, in view of the envisaged scientific applications of the instrument. Woo! Okay, this is a really long one. How long live? This is really exciting. I mean, this particular paper, I don't really know what it's talking about, but just finding these papers here, and this was published on the 24th of December. So, very cool. So this is iopscience.iop.org. It's a publishing partnership. IOP Publishing. It's got to be Italy something. So apparently their headquarters is Bristol. And they have other locations. All right. Very cool. All right. So I'm going to see you next week for another reach out. And until then, keep it loud. Alrighty then.